Hello, good day. Welcome to the this session, this review session for specifically for the controls, and for this video, we're gonna talk about the internal control system. So, I just wanna introduce again myself. I'm John Kebain Villarino. I'm a CIA way back 2017, and currently I'm an audit manager in RCBC, and I'm also a university special lecturer in FU, and I teach every Saturday. And yeah, I'm a part-time program reviewer here in Excelsia. And yeah, let's talk about the focus of the topic. I mean, kilalang kilala nyo na ako for the past 3 videos. Anyway, so to talk about the learning objectives for this video, first, we're gonna understand more on how us internal auditors will evaluate and improve the effectiveness of control process. Then we will be having a proficient knowledge on globally accepted internal control frameworks and any related topics about it or concepts. And then lastly, the same pattern, we're gonna have our CIA exam questions. I will also give actual exams, so take note of that later, and we'll help you. How are you going to answer those? Okay, so going back to what we're doing, our purpose of what do we do as an internal audit. So first, sentence. Internal auditing is an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve an organization's operations. We already understand that our main output, or I should say our main purpose here, is to add value to the organization. So I hope naiintindihan nyo siya paulit-ulit na, and especially from the other lecturers. And the focus of our topic will be again on the second sentence. It helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance process. So as you have noticed, we already have discussed una, yung governance process, and we're done with risk management. We had 2 videos about that, and the sole focus of this video and succeeding videos will be under control. As we have discussed for, I think this is the 4th video na, um, the way how I teach these topics, how these 3 areas are interrelated, simply because number 1, every organizations have their own objectives. So dun tayo mag-start. So the organization establishes its objectives, and it's not assured if they are going to attain it or achieve it, because we have what we call the risks, or yung mga threats we call it. So this can be positive or negative, okay? And that is why you, as part of the management, and or I should say even the owner or the board, you'll make sure that these risks are mitigated. As we have learned from the previous videos, these risks cannot be eliminated totally. Kaya nga may tinatawag tayong residual risks. So given that, you cannot eliminate risks, but we can mitigate risks. So therefore, the owner or the company or the management needs to implement what we call the controls, which is the topic that we're gonna discuss for this video. So the main purpose of the control is of course to mitigate yung risks, so that the company or the organization will achieve its objectives. Period. Then we have discussed governance, wherein governance existing to guide, as we have learned, to guide the company, and governance is under the responsibility of the board, guiding it to the achievement of objectives through 2 major components. Remember the 2 major components? We have the strategic direction and oversight. So there. Now we're gonna focus on controls. Technically, this is not just a one video, so after this, you need to watch another one, or I should maybe two. Let's see. Um, but the focus here it's gonna be more on the what we call internal control. We're gonna talk about that later. So, I love cats, so let's have the same scenario, basic scenario. So, assumption your objective is to wake up at 4:30, going to work or to school, and of course, as we have learned from our previous videos, we have risks surrounding that objective. Pwedeng ma-achieve, pwedeng hindi because of risks surrounding that. Kaya pwedeng mag-oversleep tayo or mag-insomnia. So, baka di ka magising ng 4:30 a.m. And ito, ang focus natin. Of course, hindi ka naman mapapayag na hindi ka magising. Sayang naman bayad mo sa tuition mo or sayang ang sahod, sayang ang leave kung may leave ka pa. So, anyhow, that's why we need to establish or implement controls wherein these controls will help you, again, to mitigate yung risks para ma-achieve yung objectives. So, controls na pwede mong ilagay is mag-set ng alarm, pwede ka uminom ng milk kung effective man sa'yo, or tea. I'm not sure. Akin hindi effective pareho. Ikot dyan ko. Maybe you need to intake herbal sleeping medicine if effective. Sa akin, effective yun. And then you might inform other people para gisingin ka. And now we have the governance that we have discussed earlier or the previous videos. Governance is again, aside from you and the people that you have asked for, hindi mo man sinabi, hindi mo man inutos, but they are there to guide you, which is the best example is your parents or yung sermon nila. There. So in a nutshell, that's how it works. That's how we're going to apply anything about the GRC, the governance, risk, and control. But again, the focus is more on the controls. Now, another, as we have also mentioned from the previous videos, the main role of the internal audit activities, of course, to evaluate and contribute to the improvement of the organization's governance, risk management, and control process using a systematic, disciplined, and risk-based approach. Internal audit credibility and value are enhanced when auditors are proactive and their evaluations offer new insights and consider future impact. So again, we have discussed in governance. We understand that we have roles in governance wherein we can provide assurance services to the governance or consulting services. At the same time, for risk management as well, by the way, I forgot to mention, we have also learned from the governance that we are actually part of the governance simply because governance is a function of the board. And one of the components of governance is what we call the oversight, which is isa tayo doon. But then again, remember, we need to audit the governance components or the two major components of governance. So how are you going to audit yourself? Remember, we have Standard 1300, Quality Assurance and Improvement Program, QAIP. So given that, wala kang excuse. Yun. So moving on to risk management, we have learned from the previous videos that we can provide assurance, we can provide consulting services, and at the same time, remember yung parang protractor na image na shinare ko sa inyo. On the other side, nandun yung mga hindi natin pwedeng gawin because we might impair yung independence and objectivity ng internal audit. So, nandun yung mga not possible na roles ng internal audit sa risk management. But sometimes, again, reality, the board might ask you to do, especially if ever it's a big company or maybe nag-start pa lang pero big company siya, nag-establish pa lang kayo ng enterprise risk management. We have understand from the previous videos, ERM, that pwedeng tayo mag-establish, but then again, kailangan ipasa siya soon sa specific person or specific department. Hindi pwedeng tayo. Initially, yeah, but if you're gonna carry it until the end, hindi siya pwede as per standard. Pero yun nga, if the board says you need to do it, then you just need to comply with standard 1000. Purpose, authority, responsibility, dapat nandun siya. Yon. So, we're gonna move to control. Just a reminder again of the three lines of defense model. We have understanding governance, as you can see on the governing body on the top, which is again, we are part of the governance. We have also understanding risk management, which is on the second line of defense. So we have really understood yung second line and the third line of defense. Now we're gonna focus on the first line of defense, which is the internal control measures or internal control system. Remember, the first line of defense is technically the first line. Kaya nga siya first, kasi first line. So the first line of defense is there to the one who will manage yung control, yung risks, and the one who is gonna implement yung controls. So there. Now let's talk about the control. Before reading this technical definition of control, ikaw ba, how do you define control? Maybe you have played any mobile games or maybe computer games before. Or siguro pwedeng ano ka, you played sports. Siguro nagtitake ka ng vitamins that has this word control. As you can see, technically control is not a jargon word because people it's might gonna be easy for you to understand the control, but given that ang layman's term na control for some people, pag sinabing control, it is something that will protect you, protection. But we're gonna learn on the next slides that it's not just protection, it's more than that. So as you also kung naalala nyo yung kanina, yung example ko na yung alarm and whatnot, so it's not totally protection. So we will learn more about this on the next slides and on the next videos. So let's read the definition. Any action taken by management, the board, and other parties to manage risks and increase the likelihood that established objectives and goals will be achieved. And just take note of this, that the main responsible, the one who's responsible for the management is no, sorry, the one who's responsible for the control is of course the management. As we have learned from the previous videos, risk management is under the responsibility of the management. Kaya nga siya risk management. Kaya management, yeah. And we have learned from the first video that the governance is under the responsibility of the board. Now, this time, the controls is also under the responsibility of the management. As you have noticed from the three lines of defense, it's mostly first line. But as you can see here, any action taken by the management, the board, and other parties. So therefore, hindi lang naman first line. Even sa second, or even on the third, or even on the board level, they still need to implement control. Sorry about that. And then the board is there to guide, direct, and oversight, as we have learned from the governance. Because again, governance process is existing to guide and to guide the management in implementing controls. And other parties, probably the frontline personnel. This is the first line of defense. So, kung anong sinabi ng control, dapat yun yung expected ng ginagawa nila, what they're really implementing. And us, internal audit. Our main role for the control is to evaluate and at the same time monitor as well. We're gonna talk about that later. Now, what are the benefits of control? So, imagine you have this objective, you have identified yung risks surrounding that, and wala kang control. We have understand from the risk management sa mga previous videos natin. Meron doon mga risk responses, di ba? Sa risk responses na yun, remember yung avoidance, acceptance, sharing, exploitation, and then lastly, we have reduction or mitigation. As you have noticed, ano bang main purpose nung risk reduction or mitigation? From the word itself, reduction, reduce. Mitigation, mabawasan. Have you noticed, parang familiar, di ba? Parang risk reduction tapos risk mitigation. As you have noticed, yung risk reduction or risk mitigation is also known as control. Yep, it's also control. So it's the same. As you have noticed, yung mga examples natin doon sa previous video, those are controls, technically controls. Like, nakalagay dun yung previous natin dun, magkaroon ng background check, and so on. Mga examples natin. There. So, going on. So, what are the benefits of having controls or implementing controls? Now, it can help, number one, achieve performance and profitability targets. Remember, the main objective, ano to, generic lang generic objective. The generic objective of each company is to gain profit. And of course, hindi naman lahat ng company kumikita kaya nga nagkakaroon ng bankruptcy at nagkakaroon ng closure, especially now na nasa COVID-19 pandemic tayo. We need to have controls para ma-mitigate natin to. So, in the long run, it can help the company achieve its performance and profitability kapag na-mitigate niya yung risks, therefore, nakaka-achieve siya sa objective. There. Prevent loss of resources. So, we will learn more about this. How can it help yung loss of resources sa, I think sa next video ko siya mali-discuss. And then, ensure reliable financial reporting. We're gonna talk about this later as well. Aside from achieving the objective, of course, we need to monitor din yung performance natin in terms of financials. And then compliance with laws and regulations. So, we understand that we have the law of the land. We have rules and regulations. We have policies and procedures within the company. Therefore, we need to have controls para ma-achieve natin yung compliance or conformance natin sa mga laws and regulations na related. And then prevent errors and irregularities if they occur. Help ensure timely detection. So, if you have a good control, it can help you to not just prevent, but also detect. We will learn more about that sa next video. An entity gets to where what it wants to go. So, again, in a nutshell, papunta doon sa objective ng company. Period. Yun na yun. Then, it encourages adherence to prescribed policies and procedures. It can protect employees by clearly outlining tasks and responsibilities, providing checks and balances, and from being accused of misappropriations, errors, or irregularities. So, these are some of the benefits of control. Actually, sobrang dami. But, again, in a nutshell, ang benefit lang naman ng control is, number one, it can mitigate yung risks. Any type of risks. Pwede. But, of course, mitigate lang. We cannot eliminate risks. And then, the last one is, it helps achieve the objectives. There. Period.